It's the 120 podcast. Winter break is over. We were going to release an episode on Friday. We still intend on doing so, but we cut it just a few days short. We sat down. We said, we're going to get in front of the mics because Shōta Imanaga is a member of your Chicago Cubs. Finally, after 84 years of nothing, Ben and I had said we were going to call it early on our winter break if there was a move. We said on Christmas morning we would have recorded if there was a move. And literally it took until, what day is it today? January 9th.
Too long, too long. It's the longest drought in sports, as many have said. The Cubs have finally signed a free agent, and not just any free agent. They signed one of the marquee arms still left on the board from the Korean Baseball League or Japanese?
No, it was the Japanese baseball. Most recently, the Yokohama Bay Stars of the
Perfect.
Japanese baseball league. Yeah.
He was one of the best arms left on the market, left-hander, and the Cubs managed to get him. I've been saying all offseason that this should be one of their prime targets, and I'm happy I got this one right. So super exciting times on the north side that the Cubs finally got an arm for that rotation.
Let's talk about Shota. He is a great ball player, obviously, at 30 years old. That number might scare some people, that 3-0. But considering Chris Bryant turned 32 yesterday, which scared me to read. I forgot how old he was. It makes me feel a little bit better. Imanaga has a 3.18 ERA in a league generally seen as one of the better. That's not the MLB. Paraphrasing this as well from an article from Baseball Insider, and also sub 3 ERA figure in the last 2 years. So we are getting him in the prime of his career, at least overseas. Looking at the ball player we're going to get in the MLB, will he keep up a 2 point something ERA? We can only hope. But a player that I'll let Ben take the lead now, we're getting for a decent price for that ERA.
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting part of this all because I think a lot of people were kind of wondering what this contract might look like. And I know a couple of days ago, the reporting on his free agency has been really weird because obviously we tomorrow, as this will be posted tonight, so Thursday, or excuse me, 2 days from now, Thursday will be his official last day of his window of posting date. So the Cubs just have to have it finalized by then, which I think they will. So no contract details yet, but there's been a lot of conflicting reports so far about what his contract looks like. It looks like it's going to be right around $15 million a year. And what Jim Bowden says, it's going to be 15 for two. So $30 million for two that could become a 4-year deal for 80 based on incentives and whatnot and performance, I would assume. So yeah, a good deal for the Cubs, I think, for a guy that you just said it is in the prime of his career, one of the best pitchers in Japan and probably the second best baseball league in on earth besides
Yeah.
Major League Baseball. And we already know there's been a lot of players coming from that league over this offseason, and he was kind of the last big one left. So Cubs were able to finally poach him over, and I think on a really good deal too.
You saw we talked a lot about how the Cubs went for Yamamoto and then he went to the Dodgers for an insane number considering he's yet to throw even a ceremonial first pitch in the MLB. We look at a guy who's 30 though and
Yeah.
is in the prime of his career, at least overseas. I understand the Cubs going for it on this contract even at his age. I don't know what it's going to be. We talked before we started rolling about this rumor that it could be only 2 years with a 4-year option. That sounds solid to me. I would hope that it leans more on the 4-year side. I mean, who knows? This could be a complete disaster, but if it is going well, you would think he still has at least 4 or 5 solid years left in his arm, and then probably way more.
I mean, every contract you sign in Major League Baseball, you're taking a risk, right?
Right.
So I think you're getting a good deal for a guy that has some really great potential. And me and you talked about it before the show started. Obviously, the Mets signed Kodai Senga last offseason. He was 29 when he came over, and he looked
Yeah.
phenomenal last year. Probably would
Yeah.
have won the Rookie of the Year if it weren't for Corbin Carroll. And it even goes back to Masahiro Tanaka was around 30 years old when he came over from Japan to go to the Yankees. And he if you could get Masahiro Tanaka out of Shota Imanaga, I'm not complaining whatsoever. If you could
Hey,
get a
like
couple good years of Shota
we
Imanaga.
we've seen Ta, we've seen O. I all arrows lean towards it's Shōta. So we're gonna keep saying Shōta. We had some reporters saying Shoto. We saw some reporters saying Shōta. We had Ben and I texting it different ways, but everyone that we think is reputable and the internet says Shōta. So it's Showtime, and we don't mean Otani on the north side.
I would have to assume that Seiya had a big play in getting him over here, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think that's such a it's like a, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, oh, if we got some random American player, would Paul Goldschmidt have anything to do? You know what I mean? If a Cardinals got someone
Yeah.
just because of the World Baseball Classic, it's like a kind of like, oh, but you would think those Japanese guys, there being less of them in the MLB, probably do stick together. They have that bond of winning gold at the World Baseball Classic. I would think he probably at least talked to him. I mean, you hear that different guys were helping recruit each other to the Dodgers, and so I would think that that is a common denominator. That's for sure.
I like how the Cubs at this point is like the Dodgers are the mecca of Japanese baseball with Yoshi
Yeah,
and Shohei, but we're
Shohei.
right under that now with
Yeah,
Shota and Seiya. So
yeah.
I would
We,
say we have maybe not Yoshi and Shohei, but after that, when you're looking at Japanese players across the MLB, I would say that the third and fourth best is
yeah.
Seiya, besides Kodai, obviously with
Yeah,
the
besides Senga,
Mets,
yeah.
but Seiya and Shota. I don't know.
hmm There's gonna be so many good obvious shirts.
Oh
We were
yeah.
talking about this. Well, we haven't gotten into philosopher mantra yet. His nickname out east is the philosopher.
So we have the
Out east, out
philosophy
west, I don't even know what it would be. I guess it
out
depends.
west.
The Earth is is a circle, so I guess you would probably west because it'd be faster to go that way. But I guess if you went east, it would be you'd still get there.
For us,
I
it's
don't know.
west.
Yeah,
So
whatever. His nickname out west is the philosopher.
so we have the philosopher and the professor in
The
the
philosopher and the
rotation.
professor. That's gonna be one of them. I know that for sure.
Something I think we could talk about is obviously this is exciting, and we've been waiting so long for a deal to come to fruition. But I think what's even more exciting about this is Jed is finally cooking. And
Mm,
we talked about this 3 weeks ago about don't panic. There's still so many free agents on the board. And I think we were expecting something to happen in the 3 weeks, 3 week, what was it, 2.5, 3 week hiatus we took. I think
yeah,
people are expecting something to happen. And
yeah,
I was even getting a little weary because no matter what, we were going to record an episode this week,
yeah,
whether it was with Shota or not. I'm just happy Jed's cooking. And the best part about it is the free agents that we were talking about 3 weeks ago, they're still on the board.
right. A lot of them really are. Well, this could be the big domino, right? We keep talking about this domino, this figurative, big first move that'll open the dam, that'll break it. And that for us, for a long time, we said that was going to be Cody Bellinger. But I think what's holding true is what we talked about last time we recorded a couple days before Christmas, which was Cody Bellinger might be that last piece. Cody Bellinger might be the player that doesn't sign until February. And it's looking like that's what's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
CubsCon is this weekend, and it looks like it'll be a Cody Bellinger-less CubsCon with that dark cloud hanging over it. And Jed, as always at CubsCon, is probably going to have kind of like we're working towards potentially signing. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't blame him for speaking to it like that, as he always does. So I wish that it was kind of refined. It's a good thing they went and signed Shota, so they have something to show off at this Cubs convention to the stakeholders. But the Bellinger thing is still kind of going to be hanging over everyone's head for at least, I would think, another month.
And it might not even be Bellinger. It's just about replacing that bat if you're not going to bring Bellinger back.
Right.
But everyone wants Cody Bellinger
Yeah.
back at this point. I don't know. That's obviously, I think once we record again on Friday, that's a conversation we could have talking about Mr. Bellinger and what the fallout might be, whether he signs or not with the Chicago Cubs. But right now, I think we could just be really
Yeah.
happy that Jed
Yes.
is bringing
Yes.
some new tool to Cubs convention, because if not, I don't know what that
Yeah.
convention would have looked like if they did not sign a free agent before that. And you know what might be even more fun? How about you just bring in one more guy before Cubs convention? I don't want to get greedy, but you know,
Be pretty electric if they
I
did
feel
something
I feel
during the weekend.
yeah, I feel really good right now with Shota. Let's do it
Yeah.
again. Let the
Well, I love it
call
though.
up
I
Reese.
love it. I love a good Reese. I love a great starting pitcher to join this rotation. I think that could be huge, especially with the prospect of losing Marcus Stroman, with the prospect of returning a lot of your good young guys and the returning of Kyle Hendricks. I think it could be huge for this team. You talk about calling up Reese. We'll talk more about it in a bigger episode on Friday, in addition to an interview, yet to be announced, but in a big interview. But I want to mention something that I was thinking a lot about during our little hiatus, Ben. There's another first baseman that I kind of like if Bellinger falls through and if Reese Hoskins falls through. And I don't know if you saw my tweet about it.
Interesting.
He's a friend, not a friend of the pod, but a friend of the division. I guess he's an enemy or a friend. I don't know.
Carlos Santana?
No, no, think bigger.
um,
Career player for a different team in our
I
same.
didn't. I definitely didn't see your tweet.
It's okay. It was. I think I tweeted it on December 30th, so it probably fell through the filter. Even though I know you're a Twitter fiend, so I figured you saw it, or X fiend. So no, I'll go through with it. And I think this is gonna get taught with mixed reactions if it does happen. But I think Joey Votto could get a look from the Cubs as a third option.
Interesting.
And I knew he was good at Wrigley Field, so I used StatMuse and I figured out like what he actually did at Wrigley Field over his career thus far. If this isn't it, I remember a specific game. I was there in 2021 where he hit 2 home runs into the bleachers. So in addition to those two, in 118 games, 321 batting average, 26 home runs, 75 RBIs, and 140 hits as a member of the Reds playing at Wrigley Field. This is over years where he won an MVP and he was in a
Yeah.
way better spot in his career. I think if all else fails, it could be a really nice signing for the Cubs, or even if all else doesn't fail. I think if you can get him for the right price, I think that's a decent deal.
That's a good one. I kind of like that.
Someone
It's
we haven't really talked about yet.
no. And I don't think we want to talk about that yet because I feel like a lot of Cubs fans would be like, "Oh, Eric Hosmer, Trey Mancini."
Right. That's what I compared it to in my head.
That's what people are scared about. But if you do strike out on some guys, that is a
Yeah.
good potential match. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Toronto makes a lot of sense for him, right?
Yeah, it does.
Especially if they do end up striking out on Bellinger because we take him, or I don't know. It's such a weird offseason because I
Yeah.
feel like, and it really only kind of heated up over the last couple of days when Jim Bowden talked about, and we could mention this a little bit, is there really hasn't been a lot of rumors, and I think it's because people are holding it close to the vest after the whole John Morosi situation.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, that's a good thing because most rumors that these insiders bring up are usually kind of false or just trying to talk. But yesterday, Bowden brought up a situation saying that Cubs have significant offers on the table with 4 Boras clients: Cody Bellinger, obviously, Matt Chapman, Reese Hoskins, and Jordan Montgomery. Who knows if that Jordan Montgomery one still has any play to it? But the Cubs do need another pitcher if they weren't willing to go after that. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'd love Matt Chapman on this team too. I mean, not that I wouldn't love all 4, but that's another name that I forget about sometimes. That'd be awesome for this team. And remember how last year I was thinking a lot about it, how it was all mostly before Christmas last year. So about or past a year ago by now, but it was like every day there was something new, and it was like, what are they doing? Like this is awesome. Like they got
Yeah.
Dansby, they got Cody, and they're putting together this team. And maybe that's still coming for the Cubs this offseason. I mean, this offseason has been a bit of a delayed fire so far, with the exception of Shohei Ohtani and a couple other Dodgers names. The other teams really haven't been satisfied yet. So I think there's going to be some um, heating up still to go. And I think that could still happen for the Cubs, where they get, 2 or 3 more guys, at least 1 or 2 that are all-star level, and then 1 or 2 more that really benefit this team.
I'll say this. There's still a lot that needs to be done. Obviously, we all know that. But you signing Shōta alongside the move of Craig Counsell, I think you just moved your offseason up from a D to a C.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not even going to call it a C yet,
I
because
don't
it's
even
not
think,
like
yeah,
the test
it's
isn't
weird.
finished yet. They haven't flipped the page. Like you got it. Like they're only on the front side. They got to do the rest of the offseason before I call it a C, because in my eyes, you still got plenty of time and plenty of points available in those other guys like Cody Bellinger and Reese Hoskins and Matt Chapman. And you signed the biggest managerial contract in baseball history and a very solid international arm. I
Yeah.
just at surface level, whether how long it took or how unorthodox it was, it's a solid offseason thus far on paper.
Yeah. It's weird because we just we shit on this team for how many days? Like 94 straight since Craig Counsell signed. It's been
Yeah,
something crazy like that.
94. Wow.
It's been a long time. And
Wow.
I think everyone kind of expected the Cubs to just, after the Counsell move, because it was so shocking, to go guns blazing. But we had to realize this is how Jed Hoyer is. And I also think Jed doesn't want to make the same kind of mistakes he made last offseason with Tucker and Eric and Trey Mancini. He wants Cubs that are going to be here for a long time and make a lasting impact to try and make this team really great.
Three great immaculate grids for 10 years from now. Tucker Barnhart, Eric Hosmer, Trey Mancini, all career Cub legends, I guess. Real quick, before we wrap this one, because we want to save some content for our end of the week episode, new episode on Friday. I'm going to give my soapbox of the day, and you kind of alluded to it with the whole tentative reporting in both football and baseball and life and sports and everything. Be cautious of what you believe in your sourcing and your tweeting. And I'm not gonna call anyone out directly, but there was some Bears tweeting today that was really making me mad about how to break a story and how to make people excited about something. When we're hearing that Matt Eberflus might be leaving the Bears, oh, that's shocking. Stop the press, right? Like that. Where's the news in that? There's no news in that. There's no story to break in that. So be cautious and be aware that not every story is something to get on an emergency pod for.
Real quick, while you mentioned that,
That's my
I
soapbox.
like it though. I like it though.
Yeah,
Are we going to be talking Bears on Friday's episode?
I think we should.
I want to.
I think we should.
I have a lot of opinions that I want to talk about, and we've always kind of talked about it. Like, we want to stay away from the Bears, but the best part about football season, being a Bears fan, is the off season. It always is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have plenty of opinions that I want to put out there. We've been talking about it on the side a little bit, just about our thoughts and feelings about other people talking about Bears football. I I'm fine talking to you and putting it out to the world because no one else can cut me off.
Yeah, that's a great point too. This team, I don't even know how much I want to talk about the Bears, but we'll have to dip into it. You can't have one without the other. The Cubs without the Bears. I told my mom the other day after the Bears lost two things. I can't wait for baseball season, and I just feel so different about the Bears sometimes because with the Cubs, like even when the Cubs choked their way out of the playoffs in September, I still kind of sat down for the playoffs the first week of October, and I was just like, okay, I love baseball. The Cubs will be back. They're gonna do the right things. It's fine. And like now, I don't even really want to watch the NFL playoffs. It's not
Really?
even but I do, but I don't because it's not even like I will anyway because I like football, but it's not even like I thought the Bears would make it. It's just that I'm so footballed out. I wish I just could watch it, but I get so into the Bears and then I finally kind of got to a point this season where I was like, oh, it is what it is. And then the last 2 weeks I got into it after Fields is such a great game in week 17 and then week 18 in Green Bay. I sit down, I had my Bears stuff on again for the first time since probably week 2. I'm sitting there, I'm all ready and it's abysmal.
Yeah.
I'm so done with all of it. But
I
I
will
know week 1 by next year I'll be sitting there again.
I like this. I like this conversation because I did notice that when we were in baseball season, you did not care about the Bears
Oh, not at all.
whatsoever. And then there was probably like a dry spell for you of just not tweeting anything about the Bears. And then all of a sudden, just like
All inspiration.
probably the timeline, probably right around when we got done with school, you just went all in. Your tweets were the Bears. I don't know if it's because the Cubs were making moves in the offseason or what, but
Well, and I love
you were a full on Bears fan again, brother.
I was boycotting for a little bit, but then I got back into it when I got home because there was nothing else going on. Like you said, the Cubs are doing nothing. I went to a Hawks game. It was so much fun. I was trying to get back into the Blackhawks as much as I could, but now Badsy's gonna have to start wearing a full cage as soon as he comes back. So we're on a hiatus as long as Connor Bedard's not playing. Um, but
I my
what's the other? Oh, the Bulls were good for a while. I was into the Bulls again for like a day.
But that's what I was gonna say. That's my favorite part about Chicago sports right now is because I consider myself like a big fan of everything. But the best part about Chicago sports is that you don't really have to be super invested to understand what's going on. Like you could
No.
just kind of like peek. Like that's what I've kind of been with the Bears or excuse me, with the Bulls and Blackhawks more than anything. It's kind of just like I'm peeking my head at them. I see the Bulls are kind of putting something together a little bit. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm vibing with this. I'm checking their box scores every night. The Blackhawks, it's like right now I could give two craps because Connor Bedard ain't playing, but
Nope.
um
Tank part two.
yeah, this is a complete soapbox, but I love it. I think people
Yeah.
want this content after
Yeah.
the little hiatus.
We had a little break. Well, that's what I've been doing during break. See, I've made this exact comparison on the pod before, but I love the scene from this movie um, with Michael K and Adam Sandler and Grown Ups 2 when Adam Sandler and Cameron Boyce are kicking the field goals and then Michael K walks up and he's like seeing him kick the field goals and then he breaks his leg. He's like, "Oh, that guy's dead." And he turns
Yeah.
around. That was me watching the Bulls. Like it was like, "Oh man, they're doing okay for like 2 weeks. We're in the play-in seed. What?" And I was watching. I was like, "Oh, the Bulls playing." And I'll sit and watch. And then they lost like 2 games in a row last week against the Sixers and the Knicks, just like in embarrassing fashion. And then Zach LaVine came back, which has never been good. And I was just like, "Oh, you know what?
I'm
What
out.
time are the Hawks on?" Yeah, what time are the Hawks on? And then Bedard got hurt. So thank God for Shota, right?
Shota, man. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
excited. I'm excited.
yeah.
We I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about these next couple of weeks. Obviously, you teased our Friday episode. Still putting together kind of like a game plan of what we're gonna talk about. But
We got an interview
we
coming.
got an interview, and that's
Mm-hmm.
exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, someone that if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably heard his voice before.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another friend, not like a friend within the realm of fellow podcasters, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's another random connection for us. I won't get into more detail, but there's another random connection we'll talk about on the pod between specifically me and the guy we're gonna have on. So, we just let loose that it's a guy. So,
Yeah,
other than
it's
that,
Michael
that'll be.
Jordan.
Yo, no, he was
Kidding.
busy. I tried. He was busy. Yeah. Did you see oh, speaking of which, congrats to Michigan, by the way. This will be the end of our podcast. Congrats to the national champs. Bring Harbaugh home. The big 3 steps. Um, win the national championship. Get signed to come coach for the Bears. Draft JJ McCarthy and buy Michael Jordan's house. That's the four big tools for Harbaugh.
We could take out number 3.
Fine. What was the first one? Sign with the Bears or win the national championship. Sign with the Bears. Buy Michael Jordan's house.
Yeah.
Potentially draft JJ McCarthy. You are just anti JJ McCarthy because he would have been a Brother Rice guy if he wouldn't have gone to Nazareth or IMG.
I didn't go to Brother Ice.
No, I know. I'm saying that's why you don't like him because you're saying like he would have been your rival.
No, he's a tool. He's Russell Wilson part 2, bro. Did you see him like sitting there meditating by the goalposts?
I
And
always do. They have like 30 cameras on him.
He's such a
He is kind of a
cornball.
cornball.
He's a
He is kind of a
cornball.
cornball. I wouldn't say he's reached
And
the
there
Russell
is
Wilson
some
level
like
yet,
no, 100% no.
but he might get there.
There's I just think if you're from the Illinois area and you didn't go to Nazareth, you're just not a fan of this kid. He's a good football player. I'll give him
Good guy.
I'll give him his
Good guy
flowers.
who I know, Luke Lawrence, Brother Rice guy who plays baseball at ISU, walked on our team last year and it was a great guy, great player too.
Yeah.
Played youth hockey with JJ McCarthy, and I was talking to him about it yesterday. Just like the random connection today, because some random hockey account posted about it. They're like, before JJ McCarthy was a great, football player, he was a Chicago-based youth hockey player, and then the kid in the picture with him was a young Luke Lawrence. So
his JJ's name is in the rafters at a local ice arena by us.
Really?
Yeah. So my roommate actually at home was a big time youth hockey player, and he's like, "Yep, my name's in those rafters too." So
yep.
it's like I'm there with the national champion.
He's basically a national champion. You're
Exactly.
basically a national champion for having known him, and I guess I am too.
Yeah, I've skated on that ice before, so
yeah, there's your answer. I mean, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You're basically a national champ now. How's it feel?
I mean, it's amazing. I can't wait for it to get vacated.
You can't you can't call JJ a cornball without talking about Harbaugh's quote. Where I was last night. It was muted, but I'm gonna quote my brother, paraphrase my brother, and you can confirm to me if he actually said this or not because I didn't see it. Harbaugh said something, I guess, about like they put the mic in his face as soon as they won, and he was like, "Each of these pieces of confetti tells a different story," or something like that.
He sounded
no
like
way.
No, he was taking a while to put it together. He sounded like a certain someone that I know. Not going to name any names, but he's a famous politician. Took him a while to put his words. Took him a while to put his words together. It was so funny. We were all sitting there watching the game, and he's just like trying to figure out how he could make a connection to the confetti. And the best part is after he ended up putting it together, they ran with that because SVP asked him later that night, was like, you talk about the confetti and how each one has a story. He's like, I'm going to have a better idea once the confetti's rested. Yeah, your idea is going to be that you're coaching in the NFL.
Go get your check, buddy. Joey Molinaro, who's a great follow, does a great impression of Harbaugh as he does for everyone else. That's somebody I'd love to have on the pod. I think he's a Cubs fan too.
Yeah,
That's somebody I'd love to have on the pod sometime just to hear his impressions. All right, that got off the rails. Shōta, great signing for the Cubs. Super excited about it. We wanted to hop on, do this, another late night special. We're over from break. That'll be probably the title of this one. Break is over, and with it, a big signing. So we'll be back on Friday with an interview with more Ben, with more me, and more Cubs. Thank you, and go Cubbies.